welcome to the WalterFootBall.com Fantasy Football Show. This is our Week 16 edition, the championship weekend for most of you. Joined once again by Michael Hofer. Michael, how are you?
Wow, what a week, man. All my keeper leagues, I'm in the final. I had a very, very scary round with in the semifinal. My opponent had Kenyon Drake and also Lamar Jackson, 54.2 points. Kenyon Drake, 51.6. How did I manage to win that? Bills defense, 47.2 points. Buccaneers defense, 42.3. We start two defenses. I went with the Bills and the Bucks, and they got me to the finals. It was incredible to get past Kenyon Drake and our MVP for the season, Lamar Jackson. So that was thrilling. Four of my 8 teams are in the finals. 2 of them, just things went haywire, as they sometimes do on week 15, where I barely lost. But, overall, I guess getting 4 teams to the finals and all my keeper teams, I really can't complain.
That's awesome. Congratulations on reaching the finals. I hope you win the championship in all 4 of those leagues. I'm in the championship of my oldest league. I've been in this league since 2003, and Eli Manning has been my quarterback because
Eli carried me in both the major leagues. He did.
Yeah, so I drafted Cam Newton, and I obviously had to replace him. So I've been rotating quarterbacks, and I've used Eli Manning the past 2 weeks, but he's not going to start this week, so I have to figure something out. Also joined by Kim Calhoun. Kim, how are you? And how's your week? I know you were in Miami, so how'd that go?
Oh, wow. Hi, Walter. And I have had the best week ever. It was just like Tinkerbell followed me everywhere. As you know, I got to go meet with the Super Bowl committee and got to actually hold the trophy, the Super Bowl trophy. And I think that was probably one of the most exciting moments in my career. I couldn't even talk. I was so shocked. But I can see why you guys get so excited about it. And to work with the Super Bowl committee is very exciting. They are fabulous people. So I'm glad to be back though. And I guess according to Mike, he's kept up with my team more than I have. I've done really well. So.
She's won 5 in a row.
I won 5 in a row.
She took over a team that was 0-10 and has won 5 in a row in the most incredible manner. It shows. Congratulations, Kim.
You know what? I want to thank both of you guys for including me on this TV show, because this has just been such a whirlwind of an experience. Working with you, learning about the game in a different way. So thank you.
Yeah.
So Kim, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you how heavy was the trophy? Was it heavier than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, it was a little heavier than I thought, but not as heavy as the moon rock I've held. So probably about 20 pounds, 25 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's solid, it's clear, and they got somebody that's like a linebacker standing really close to it. It stays in a really nice encasement, and so they have to take it out. You have to put on white gloves, so you'll see the white gloves that I'm wearing. But here, I'll share the picture if you guys want to see it.
Absolutely.
This is the whole room right here. As you can see, it says Super Bowl committee out here. This is their big backdrop. In there is a big encasement with Super Bowl rings and the trophy. So, but you put on the white gloves, as you can see, and they hand it to you gently. You shake. It's almost as scary as holding a newborn baby.
What's its value? Do you know the value?
That's a good question, and maybe I should have asked.
I'm Googling it right now.
Well, considering they have,
I couldn't even think.
$50,000. $50,000, Kim. It's created from scratch each year.
And I didn't run out the door with it. But
it takes 4 months to make it. The values of the silver used to make the trophy is only worth $1,700, but by the time they're done, they say it's worth $50,000.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think the value it adds to the community and into the NFL is far greater than $50,000. When you think about everything that the people put into this, all the fans that put into their hearts into this game, and building up to that moment of handing off that trophy. I think the value is far greater than that. So
Well said.
Yeah, I'd say considering that they have a big linebacker guy monitoring the trophy, he's probably played $50,000 himself. So I would think that it's it's probably more expensive than that. I understand like the material is probably around there, but if this were auctioned off, I can't imagine how many millionaires and billionaires would be bidding on this, and it would be worth. I can't even imagine how much it'd be worth. Maybe into the 7 figures, 8 figures even.
well,
Meanwhile, what's Evan Ingram worth?
what?
That guy almost killed me. Thank God for Tyler Higbee.
Well, think about what it's worth at the end of the day when the person wins it and how much money they invested getting there. And I think that's the value I put on it, is the investment that we put into getting to that moment of when it's being received. And I don't know, I just tell you the excitement in that room, I couldn't think. We were in the meeting room for quite some time talking about the special projects, that outreach programs that I'm part of. And I have to thank the NFL wives, Sisters in Service, for helping us get there, because they've endorsed our programs. But I'll just tell you, the mood that they have, the energy that they have, the work they put into this, it's just amazing. So I'm honored to have had that moment. So,
That's awesome. Congratulations again on
thank
that.
you.
On that. That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So we have some breaking news that we had about 45 minutes ago. Raiders running back Josh Jacobs will be out. That means DeAndre Washington will start. So if you're listening, probably Washington's already picked up. But if he's not, make sure you add him on your waivers, and you can probably safely drop Jacobs unless you're playing week 17.
Yeah, I just picked him up in every league, and that's why we're starting late today, so I could grab him. But yeah, I couldn't believe. Walter told me at 4:01, and he was still there in the waiver wire at 4:30 when the show was supposed to start. I picked him up.
Why was he dropped?
Jacobs is out. Josh Jacobs is out. So
Jacobs had a monster against San Diego last time in San Angeles. The San Angeles Chargers. He had a monster game against them, and DeAndre's been when Josh has been hurt, DeAndre's been a very good fill-in. So that is like the pickup of the week, no doubt, off of the waiver wire, I would have to say.
Absolutely.
Besides Will Greer. Great.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about Will Greer. Yeah. But so with Washington, the question is, who do you play him over? For example, if you have a Devin Singletary as your second running back, do you play Singletary or do you play someone like Washington?
Well, I got a league where I start 4 running backs, and I have to make the decision. My others are McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, Le'Veon, and that's my 4th. I don't know, because it's like I'm shocked I even got the guy, if only to take it away from my opponent. But now, yeah, I got to make the decision. I'm counting on you for that. I'm also counting on you for some inside information. Okay. Can you give us some inside information on your family member? What the hell is up with your cousin? What's going on with him? Is he startable? And the other guy, T.Y. Hilton, what do you do with him? But your cousin, man, what is going on? I've relied on this guy. He's been so reliable. Did age just suddenly strike him and Tom Brady dead?
I think my 4th cousin, Julian Edelman, is a little banged up right now. He's not 100%. He's very injured. And it's tough to tell with injuries. Like, these guys can look horrible one week because they're so banged up, and then the next week they bounce back. So I would not be afraid to play Julian Edelman.
Really?
I don't think that Tre'Davious White will follow him into the slot. I think that would be a little bit surprising. The Bills are weakest in the slot. They have 2 outstanding outside cornerbacks, but they don't have a good slot cornerback. So I think Edelman has the best matchup of any Patriot receiver this week, and plus
there aren't any other Patriot receivers.
That's absolutely true. I was about to say that, and plus he's the best Patriot receiver. So I actually do wonder if the Bills will copy what the Chiefs did and double team Edelman. But
why not?
Right, but if I'm Bill Belichick, I would scheme some stuff open for Edelman, and I would not be afraid to play him.
Okay. The deal with Tommy has always been putting pressure on him. The Bills are well capable of putting pressure on him, and then the blueprint has been laid out for bracketing Edelman. I don't know how I got to the finals. I had Edelman in 2 leagues that I limped into the finals. Nothing from him. So I'm terrified to play him this week.
Really?
Okay, would you play Edelman over AJ Green?
AJ Green's not. Is he out? I thought he was out.
No,
AJ
would
Green.
you play Edelman over him? No, I mean not AJ Green. Oh my God, AJ Brown, the Tennessee.
In
Sorry.
I would play Edelman in PPR over Brown, but I would play Brown over Edelman in standard. That's
What about Edelman and Hilton?
I
You
would
got that
play
choice too.
I would play Edelman over Hilton no matter
Really?
where I'm playing. Yeah, Hilton.
What about Edelman and Slayton?
Oh, I would definitely play Edelman over Slayton because Daniel Jones is coming back, and Daniel Jones is going to scramble, and that means every time he scrambles, it's going to be a target taken away from someone. Yeah. So I would downgrade all the Giant receivers. Not so much. I wouldn't downgrade Slayton like too much because Jones is more willing to take deep shots than Eli Manning is. But it's still a little bit of a downgrade because Jones is going to scramble.
The other guy that I thought I was going to be relying on Week 16 is Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, and it's like I don't know what's happened where they just throw short passes to him most of the time, and he doesn't break. I can't understand what's up with that offense where only the tight ends get to get points. I mean, how do you feel about Marquise Brown for next year, or even for Week 16?
Week 16. Well, we'll see what happens on Saturday because if the Patriots lose, then the Ravens are not playing Marquise Brown or Lamar Jackson for that matter. Because that means,
wow, that's a good point. So you have to have preparation for Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely. If you have Jackson as your starting quarterback, you better make sure you have a good backup because if the Patriots lose to the Bills, that means the Ravens clinch the #1 overall seed in the AFC. And John Harbaugh has already said that he's not going to play Lamar Jackson if he doesn't need to.
God.
He said
More breaking news.
Yeah, he said that for
breaking news today.
He said that for Week 17. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case for Week 16. I could see a scenario where they play Jackson for a half and then bench him in the second half just to preserve him. Like maybe they do that, but I think it's more likely than not that they don't play him at all because they won't need to, and they don't need him to get injured. Otherwise, they have to go with Robert Griffin, who's obviously not very good. So. It's you really have to monitor what happens Saturday. I assume the Patriots are going to win. They're 7-point favorites over the Bills. I think more likely than not they'll prevail. But the way the Patriots have played lately, they could easily lose to Buffalo. And you have to have preparations. The guy I'm going against in the championship actually has Jackson as his quarterback, so I'm actually rooting for the Bills to win. So
well, you and I have been doing it.
I got a question to ask. When you talk about going up against in the championship, I mean, we're in fantasy football, and of course, I'm kind of new at this. What does that mean? How did you get there, and what does that mean?
Well, it's a 12-team league, and the best 6 teams reach the playoffs. The top 2 teams have the week off for the first round of the playoffs. So 3 plays 6 and 4 plays 5. I had a very injury-ravaged team. I had Tyreek Hill, who was out for a while. I had Cam Newton, as I said, I drafted him. He was out for a while. I had Michael Thomas. He wasn't as effective with Drew Brees out. So I had some struggles early, but I caught fire late, and I snuck into the playoffs as the 6th seed. So I played the 3rd seed in the first round. I beat the 3rd seed. And then in the semifinals, I played the #1 seed. I beat the #1 seed. And then now I'm in the championship against the #2 seed. That's how we got to the finals. And it's this guy Jason in my league. He's a good guy, but he was talking trash. So I hope I could beat him. And when he was talking trash, I responded. I'm like, dude, I have Eli Manning and you have Lamar Jackson. Like I'm a severe underdog in this matchup right now.
Woo! Yeah. Like the rocket coming out. You started out kind of late, and now you're just coming back with a lot of fire, and that's what's great about this, right?
Well, Walt's got experience. So, I just set my lineups and my drafting and all that stuff just to make the playoffs. I really don't care what happens during the regular season because I figure I got enough experience, especially keeper leagues. If I just make the playoffs, I set my rosters totally for weeks 15 and 16. Those are the only weeks that really matter. You got to figure that you're confident enough in yourself that you're going to be good enough to make the playoffs. So I go to great lengths to make sure I've got those weeks covered. Then injuries happen, and we have these guys coming out of the woodwork like DeAndre Washington that's going to win somebody a championship.
Yeah.
And then also, I went and stocked up in defenses in another league. I already had New England from the start, and I picked up the Ravens. And then I just made a waiver claim that came through today for Denver. So I was trying to figure out which of those three do I start? New England and Buffalo. Divisional. Anything can happen. They know each other. The Ravens and Cleveland. Cleveland already beat them. Divisional. Anything can happen. Then we got Denver and Detroit. So while the other two defenses are arguably better, I think that the excellent start is Denver at home against the hapless Lions and a lousy quarterback. I'm pretty sure Denver's the right defense to start there. Would you agree?
I actually picked up Denver, and I plan on starting them in my league. So.
Yes, high five. That's
There
right.
you go. High five. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's. I think that's a good strategy. David Blau has struggled ever since his Thanksgiving debut. He actually played pretty well in that game, but he's performed worse lately. And this is a tough defense, so I think he's going to.
Mile High Stadium in the snow. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. I do think Baltimore is a good option as well, assuming that the Patriots win. Against Cleveland, I know they lost the Browns the first time, but they were missing so many players in that game. So I think they have revenge on their minds. They want to beat the Browns, and the Browns are very dysfunctional right now. Baker Mayfield is I don't think he's healthy. Odell Beckham's certainly not healthy. We know that for a fact. And Freddie Kitchens is just a horrible coach. So I think the Ravens are a great option as well. Again, it really depends on how the Patriots perform, because if the Patriots lose, then you definitely do not want to play Baltimore's defense.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so we got some injuries going on. We're building up into the playoffs now. You had mentioned something that you've been playing Eli Manning. He's been great for you, but now you got to pick somebody new, right?
Yeah, because Eli Manning is not going to start this week. It sounds like Daniel Jones will start. I actually picked up Drew Lock, the Denver quarterback, because Detroit's defense is so bad.
You said sucked a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, the preseason he was horrible. There's no doubt. And he was
said
great.
The same about Will Greer, so I'm not going all crazy on Will Greer, and that's how much I trust your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Will Greer he looked awful in the preseason, but Drew Lock did too. And Drew Lock when he played against Houston, he was amazing, and he had a great fantasy performance. But then we saw him last week against Kansas City, and he was awful.
Yeah.
So I probably think he's somewhere in between. Denver was missing 2 offensive linemen against Kansas City, and that really affected him. He was under pressure a lot. Chris Jones caused a lot of havoc in the backfield, and Drew Lock did that thing a lot of rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks do, where they drift back in the pocket too far, and then they throw the ball off their back foot, and it's just an inaccurate pass that's sometimes intercepted. He actually did that on his interception. Yeah, I mean, it's just growing pains with Drew Lock, but this is such an easy matchup. Detroit is terrible. They're missing 10. Yeah. They were missing 10 starters last week. Like half their starters were out. Yeah. They just can't compete with the opponent, and I just think that Drew Lock is going to have a good game. Provided, I would love to see one of his offensive linemen come back, whether that's Ronald Leary, the guard, or Juwan James, the tackle. I would love to see one of those guys come back.
I feel bad about this because I carried Drew on IR all year in the league where we have 5 quarterbacks. And then I just cut him for nothing and kept Phillip Rivers and Derek Carr. And then it's just like, why did I do that? I mean, seriously.
When you say somebody's lost 10 starters, too, I mean, do we need to test their water or something in Detroit? I mean, what's up?
There have been a lot of injuries this year, and I guess you'd have to look at the conditioning. But your other question about Eli, a lot of us own Daniel Jones, the rookie quarterback that Dave Gettleman said, we know what we're doing. And everybody was skeptical about the Giants picking Jones, and he did know what he's doing. The guy's turned out to be a pretty darn good quarterback. But when he got hurt, he had replaced Eli. So Eli was a natural replacement for Daniel. Most of us still own both guys. So it really doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but the Giants matchups the last few weeks have been pretty easy. Philadelphia, Miami, and then Washington this week. So Daniel Jones or Eli, we're happy. I'm just not happy with Evan Ingram. What do you do with him next year? Do you even bother is he draftable?
I think he's draftable. I think he'll probably be like a 9th or 10th round pick. 11th round
and he'll be hurt half the year again, right?
That's probably the case, but that's kind of where Jordan Reed has been going in
Yeah,
drafts.
Jordan Reed, I've given up on him too.
Yeah, not in the past year or so, but like Jordan Reed in circa
Tyler
20,
Eifert, another Tyler Eifert.
right?
Tyler
Yes.
Eifert tight end heap.
Yeah, although I would say this about Jordan Reed, like he had one healthy season. I think it was a couple years ago. Like he played most of the games, and he ended up outperforming where he was drafted most of the time. So those guys have so much talent. Like Evan Ingram is just.
And I don't mind holding a guy like that for week 15 or 16, but when they miss 15 or 16, it's like, my God, I've been holding you all year and you can't even show up for the playoffs. Don't you care about my fantasy team?
That's what matters. That's what matters most.
Yeah, Mike, we need to have a talk about your fantasy team. They need to report to you before they do something like that.
Well, I take them to Golden Corral. I make sure they're fed. They like that. But then I got guys like Kyle Shanahan get a hold of them and Bill Belichick and Andy Reid, and you never know which guy they're going to play. So I try to stay away from those teams.
I want to understand a little bit now as we get closer, like with DraftKings to the Super Bowl itself. There's only 2 teams. Then how does that break down? Does it go kind of crazy in all of this fantasy football when it gets there?
Yeah, well, in DraftKings you have the kind of the showdown slate like you do for Monday Night Football. It's the same thing. And I if I can recall last year, I think the winning lineup was Edelman as captain, then Gronkowski, Patriots kicker Gostowski, Patriots defense Cooper Kupp, and Tom Brady. I believe that was the winning lineup. It won someone $1 million. They do a $1 million prize for the Super Bowl. This week on DraftKings they have 2 slates because there are 3 Saturday games. And the grand prize in the main Saturday slate is $200,000. So it's a nice prize pool, and there are, I should say, only 58,000 people going to be playing this. It sounds like a lot, but in their normal slate, it's around like 150,000. So this is a third of the usual slate that you're going to have. And so the quarterbacks, I was going to ask you, Michael, who would you play? Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston are the 2 most expensive quarterbacks. They're about the same price. Then you have Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh Allen, and Tom Brady in that price order. And they're all 4 of those guys are much cheaper than the first 2 I mentioned. So who would you play? If you were going to play in the slate.
I would play famous Jameis.
Famous Jameis.
Famous Jameis, although the Buffalo quarterback, he gets the running yardage too. He might be a good value. But Jameis is going to get yardage.
Yep.
With that coach, it doesn't matter who his receivers are. I thought that they had already made the decision they weren't going to bring the guy back. But apparently the interceptions don't matter. And it'll be interesting to see what the Bucs do next year. They got a major decision. There's some quality quarterbacks out there in the draft. I don't know if they'll still be there by the time the Bucs pick. But stick with this guy.
Something in my mind says Deshaun Watson. I mean, I don't know. He's just, I don't know. For some reason, I feel like maybe I'll pick him.
I think both are great options for sure. I'm probably going to play equal amounts of both. I think that's probably where I'm going to fall. With Jameis Winston, I definitely think he's going to come back because knowing Jason Licht, the general manager of the Buccaneers, he's very reticent to admit that he's wrong. Like he will never do that. And by letting Jameis Winston go, he'll have to admit that he was wrong. So I think the Buccaneers will franchise Winston. And they'll give him 1 more year, but he has played better in recent weeks.
That's a good idea, like Tannehill.
Right, exactly. He's played better in recent weeks. And he always has that interception. He just seems to try to get it out of the way. Like he did it. Right, he did it. I mean, yeah, and that's exactly right. Brett Favre would throw some horrendous passes, but then he would be brilliant at times.
Yeah.
And that's how Jameis Winston has played recently. He's the first quarterback to ever throw for 450 yards in consecutive games. Just remarkable that we've had so many great quarterbacks over the years, and he's the first one to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got amnesia.
Yeah, exactly. But he's gonna throw interceptions. So Michael, you said Jameis Winston. Who would you pair him with? Like what 2 players would you play alongside Winston to capitalize on touchdown passes?
Can you put the wide receivers up?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and share the screen.
Okay. Let me do that.
I don't know if we're going to have halftime today. No.
I guess you got to go with Nuke.
Noon.
Well, no. I mean, like Tampa. What Tampa receivers would you play with?
Well, there's no question about it.
Okay. Who would you? I assume you mean Perriman.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
but-
how much is the other guy? The other unknown guy. I forgot his name. I forget his name every week.
So there's Justin Watson.
Yeah, Justin Watson. Well, how
but
much is he?
So just looking at this, so Tampa's receivers, price wise, Perriman is $6,000. Justin Watson is $4,600.
Oh my God.
And then they have some guy named Ishmael Hyman for $3,000. Those are the only Tampa receivers, healthy receivers who are listed. But of course, you also have OJ Howard and Cameron Brate.
If you're going to choose between those, I go with Cameron Brate. It's been so long since there's been a Cameron Brate sighting, and it's one of Jameis's favorite receivers. So, the price on Cameron Brate's probably pretty good. I think he would be a good overlay. He might be a good choice.
Yeah, I think so too. So Winston and Bruce Arians both said that that they told the tight ends to be prepared for more production this week.
Oh, as a matter of fact, I would have been in your contest. Everybody I had was live. I had Drew Brees. I had everybody that was just blowing up, and Julian Edelman is my last pick. That's just like.
Yeah, that was his worst game, but he wasn't healthy to defend. Going to defend my fourth cousin for a second there. Yeah, he's.
You better. So, who would you pick, Walter, to pair these up?
I would kind of if I'm going with Winston, I think I would pair him with Perriman and either Howard or Brate, as Michael said. I think I would try both. I don't think I would do both tight ends, but I would make one lineup where I go Winston, Perriman, Howard, and then the next lineup I could do Winston, Perriman, Brate, and then I would do something like that. And then I'll run it back with DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's just fantastic talent. So
but everybody's going to have that.
Yeah, people are going to have that for sure. So you have to be different elsewhere. So maybe I'll try out that Hyman character. We'll see what happens. If you're going with Watson,
you might need a Heimlich if you go with the Hyman.
Right. If you go with Watson, you have to pair him with Hopkins for sure. And then you go with Fuller if he plays, or some Stills.
Well, you go with Carlos Hyde then too, right?
I will not play Carlos Hyde. I think he's terrible.
Really? Okay.
And against the Tampa defense, Tampa's amazing against the run. Like they're so good against the run.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I totally forgot.
Yeah, they've shut down Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara this year.
Yeah. Forget the Houston running backs. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You want to start with the rankings of the quarterbacks?
Sure.
Let's go for it.
Okay. So we have Lamar Jackson, number one. Again, it depends if he plays or not. So this is pending the Patriots result on Saturday. Russell Wilson, number two. Arizona's defense allows big games to every quarterback they play except for Baker Mayfield, apparently. But Russell Wilson should have a great game against Arizona. I think this game will be closer than the first one was, just based on the number of injuries Seattle has on defense. Bobby Wagner is probably going to be out. David Clowney could be out. So if those guys are injured, this is going to be a close game. It's going to be a shootout potentially. So Russell Wilson could explode. Number three, I have Deshaun Watson here. The reason I said I was going to waver between Watson and Jameis Winston is because while I think Watson is going to produce more than Winston, I think it's easier to pair Winston with the cheaper guys. Because if you're playing Watson, you have to pair him with Hopkins, and Hopkins is the most expensive player on the slate. Whereas Winston is going to be paired with cheaper guys, and then you can afford better players around Winston. So
absolutely,
yeah. So that's my thinking there.
And that's a win-win situation. The flow of the game is a win-win situation too. Practically no matter what happens, especially if the Texans get a lead, Jameis is going to be slinging it.
Yeah.
So Houston could suddenly go conservative and just try to kill the clock.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. That's the way the game could go. I could also see a scenario where the Buccaneers get out to a lead and then Houston has to come back. So I think you have to kind of think of scenarios when you're building a lineup on DraftKings. I like to think of a scenario how the game's going to go, and then try to figure out which players fit that scenario the best. So Number 4, Patrick Mahomes. Tough matchup against the Bears, but he just had a tough matchup against the Broncos, and he played very well. Mahomes is matchup proof. He's,
Right.
in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL right now. So I love Mahomes. Number 5, Dak Prescott.
How about them Cowboys?
So Dak Prescott is very, very interesting because the live
My
DraftKings.
sister. She needs to be here, put you in your place.
So last week, the live DraftKings final, the Fantasy Football Championship was taking place. It was for $2 million. Prescott was the most used quarterback in that championship, and I was very confused about that. Like, some guys in the industry were playing him, and I respect their opinions. I mean, those guys are amazing at what they do. But I was very confused by that decision because Prescott was going against a Rams secondary that's great, and he was coming off a game against the Bears in which he injured both hands. So I was very down on Prescott last week, but this week he has a much easier matchup against the Eagles. So I would not be afraid to play Prescott. I think he has a rebound game. Number 6, Aaron Rodgers against that Vikings secondary that's not very good. They have a lot of issues in the secondary, so Rodgers, I assume, is going to have a big game on Monday night, the final Monday night game of the year. Number 7, Drew Brees against the Titans. Drew Brees just he broke 2 records in a single game on Monday night. He was amazing. He went 29 of 30, best completion percentage ever in a game. He passed Peyton Manning for most touchdowns ever in a career.
The Colts were pathetic.
Yeah, they were very pathetic. It was a great matchup, though. The Colts play a soft zone defense, and Drew Brees has his best games against zone defenses. Tennessee is going to play tougher, I think. It really depends on if Adoree Jackson comes back for the Titans. He's a very talented cornerback. He's been out the past 2 weeks. If he plays this week, I would downgrade Drew Brees a little bit. If he's out, I would upgrade Drew Brees a little bit. So this is kind of like a median projection for Brees. Number 8.
That game's going to be a lot tougher. It's going to be a tough game for the Saints.
I agree. Yeah, if Jackson comes back, that'll be a very tough game, especially with the guard Larry Warford getting injured. It's going to be worse protection for Drew Brees. And I know for a fact that Drew Brees hates interior pressure more than edge rush.
Yeah.
We've heard that. Charlie Campbell, our NFL draft analyst, he was speaking to a source with the Saints, and he told them that he's like, the Saints pay a lot of money to their guards because they know that Brees hates interior pass rush so much.
And they just had a guy get hurt too.
Yeah, right. Larry Warford. He's going to be out. And the Titans, they bring a lot of pressure in the interior, so it's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
Number 8, Kyler Murray.
Did you see Drew's face when he went down? It's like,
yeah,
it looked like, oh my God, there goes my season. He really looked terrified.
Yeah, it's a big loss. I didn't hear about the severity of the injury. I assume he's going to be out this week.
It wasn't worth the first down.
No, no,
no,
definitely not.
And then it was inflicted by a teammate.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah, friendly fire. It's a shame when that happens.
Yeah.
Number 8, Kyler Murray against Seattle. I just said this. I think this is going to be a shootout with Seattle missing several defensive starters, potentially. Number 9, Carson Wentz. I think this could be a shootout, and Carson Wentz finally has a receiver. He has Greg Ward. He was the hero of the game last week, and I had Greg Ward in 17% of my DraftKings lineups.
Wow.
Shout out to Kenny, who does the DFS strategy show with me. I believe he had Greg Ward in 55% of his DraftKings lineups.
I tried, man, and I couldn't pick him up this week. I wanted to take your advice on that, but I'm not a believer yet. But I hope you're right, Nick.
That was a pretty good show you guys had. So.
Oh, thank you. I
enjoyed it.
Thanks. Kenny was all over Greg Ward. I have to give him a lot of credit for that one. I liked Greg Ward as well, but Kenny was smitten with Ward, and he turned out to be right. Greg Ward was in the winning $1 million lineup this week. So, yeah.
It's going to be tougher with the Cowboys, though, right?
A little bit tougher. Dallas' secondary is not that good. Their safeties are bad. They only have one good cornerback, and I think this is going to be a shootout. So, if Lane Johnson could return too, so that'll help the Eagles' offense.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, he's like the difference maker on the team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Lane Johnson's and Lane Johnson, by the way, very pissed off that he didn't get voted to the Pro Bowl. I saw him tweet that he said, "Oh, there's no respect for right tackles, huh?" So maybe that'll be motivation for him to come back. But he's not even a real right tackle. He's a left tackle playing right tackle because Jason Peters at left tackle. He's an amazing player. Number 10, Matt Ryan, rounding out the top 10 against Jacksonville's defense. The Jaguars have quit in so many games in the second half of the year, so I assume Matt Ryan's going to have a nice game. So,
Not last week.
What'd you say?
Not last week, though.
Matt Ryan had a good game.
No, the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah, no.
My God, that was weird.
It was. The Raiders were up 16-3. They had 10.
Their final home game, they're trying to show off.
They had 10 trips in the Jacksonville territory. They scored 16 points. And, Michael, I said this on my Picks podcast with Jacob. I thought if the Raiders scored one more touchdown earlier in the game and made it like 23-3, the Jaguars would have quit. But the fact that they were able to hang around and only be down 2 touchdowns late in the game, it kind of gave them incentive to try hard. But I think right. I think if you put this Jaguar team away, if the Falcons go up like 17-3 early or like 21-3 early, I think the Jaguars can mail this in. So it really depends on what happens. But Jacksonville's defense is so bad right now. So
I love what the Falcons did at the goal line against the 49ers. That was epic. That was classic. Game over. Yet, whoa, we got a replay here. It's a touchdown. Loved it.
That was
that Jimmy G. Jimmy G was horrible that game too, and he gets tunnel vision. He only throws it to Kittle. And he totally forgets about Debo. It makes Debo almost unplayable.
Yeah, and they have a tough matchup this week. Against the Rams. The Rams secondary is great. So those are the top 10 quarterbacks. Any disagreements there from you?
Well, I see you got Phillip Rivers up there, and I saw enough of him against the Raiders. Tannehill, he's got a tough matchup though. Okay, well, to make things short, Winston should definitely be much higher, and the guy who's going to be fantastic this week, Aaron Jones had a fantastic week last week, but the Vikings are terrible on pass defense, and they're very good against the run. Aaron Rodgers, the Packers need to win all their games to keep their seeding in the playoffs. Why are the Packers doing well? Why have they only lost 3 games? What do the Packers do that's good? Is there anything the Packers do that's good? Yeah, they got number 12. The number 12 is going to be the number 1 quarterback this week.
Okay. Yeah. He could easily be the number 1 quarterback. He
has
fantastic. To be. Rodgers to Adams is always going to be great, and you can't go wrong playing those guys together. So that is the Monday night slate, so you can't do that on Sunday night. But on the showdown, the final Monday night showdown of the year, I think Adams is a viable captain, and you play him with Rodgers. You don't want to play Rodgers as captain because if he throws a touchdown to Adams, it's only 4 points for Rodgers and 7 points to Adams. So it makes more sense to play Adams as captain and then Rodgers in a flex.
And in my league, I've got every Minnesota running back just in case.
That's
because we have no idea who's going to start, if it's Cook or the other guy was really good.
I like Mike Boone a lot.
Too.
I've watched every single preseason game over the past dozen years or so, and I've seen a lot of Mike Boone, and he's been stellar. I've always been confused about why he's never had a chance. So I like Mike Boone a lot, and. Yeah, I agree with you on Rivers. He should probably be lower. Winston should be higher. I think I panicked a little bit when I saw that Godwin was going to be out and Evans. I panicked a little bit. I think I moved him down too much. I didn't correlate the other positions to pair with Winston. So I think in the next update, I think Winston will be around where Drew Brees is.
No risk it. That's all that coach cares about. Just throw the ball.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the running back. Christian McCaffrey, once again, the de facto number 1 running back. How many weeks in a row has he's been the number 1 running back? Number 2, Chris Carson against Arizona. So we just saw Nick Chubb have a great game against Arizona, even though he only had like 15 or 16 carries. I don't know what Freddie Kitchens is doing. He's very confusing. It's like you have this great running back and you're not running with him. It's like, I don't understand what the philosophy is there, but we do know Pete Carroll will run the ball a lot. So I love Chris Carson this week. Number 3, Joe Mixon. Maybe a little controversial there, but we just saw Miami revive Saquon Barkley's season. Miami's been awful against running backs all year, and
Mixon's got the volume.
Yeah, he does. He's the only one running the ball, and I think a case could be made that Mixon is top 3 talent at his position. Now, he doesn't have the blocking or anything like that. He's not a great receiver, but as a pure runner, he is one of the best in the NFL. So it's a great matchup, and I'm going to be willing to play him this week for sure.
Great selection at number 3. Terrible selection at number 4.
Really, because Jacksonville has the
I can't
worst.
trust that guy. I can't trust him.
Jacksonville has the worst run defense in the NFL. They have their top 4 linebackers are out. So
the backups are playing great.
Was the Atlanta running back backups or Jacksonville linebacker?
Jaguar linebackers playing better than Miles Jack did. I mean, he's cleaning up. He's getting 20 points a week in the fantasy. Zillions of tackles.
Yeah, I mean, Jack hasn't played well this year. I think he's been injured, but I mean, they're I don't think their backups have played well at all. Like I think they've
carried me to a fantasy final. 2 of them.
That's my issue with IDP. I think with their tackle numbers, they might look good for fantasy, but they also miss a lot of tackles and they don't cover well. So I like Freeman, but I think the case could be made that he could be a little bit lower for sure. But I think he's gonna have a nice game.
Hold on a second. Donald Payne last week had 11 solo tackles. The week before that he had 15 tackles, and the week before that he had 13 tackles. All since Miles Jack has been out, he's had the highest numbers in tackles in the league. That's kind of amazing to me.
I just think that. I don't think tackle numbers really mean anything for fantasy. Like it's great, but I think in like real life that's my problem with tackle numbers. So it's looking at Pro Football Focus. Donald Payne is the lowest rated linebacker in the NFL right now. He gets tackles because the people in front of him aren't good, but he also misses a lot of tackles, and he's just horrible overall. Just looking at his stats or his numbers, so he's a below average run defensive player. But he's the worst coverage linebacker in the NFL. So yeah, I just have trouble buying that. I don't know. Like I like Freeman this week, but I can see the case that he could be lower than the next guy, Derrick Henry, number 5.
Miles Sanders blew up, and Mostert had a reasonable game.
Yeah. Miles Sanders. That's kind of a hedge on Jordan Howard, who might return. If Howard's gonna be out, I'm gonna move Sanders up a couple of spots. Mostert maybe should be higher. I actually moved him down a little bit today. I think I had too high of a projection on him, but maybe it wasn't high enough. I need to look into that. But I think 17 points is pretty reasonable for Mostert. So my number 5 running back, Derrick Henry. He could always have a big game against the Saints. Who don't have Sheldon Rankins. I think that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Number 6, Dalvin Cook. So we need to see if he's going to play or not. But if he does play, we know that Green Bay's run defense can be exposed. So I think he could have a nice game.
Yeah.
Number 7, Ezekiel Elliott against the Eagles. So Elliott doesn't have a good running back matchup, but the Eagles are susceptible to pass catching running backs. So Elliott could have a big receiving game. Number 8, Saquon Barkley. I had him higher when I thought Eli Manning was going to start. I dropped them some spots because, as I said before, every time Daniel Jones runs, it's not going to be a Saquon Barkley reception out of the backfield. So Barkley will take a decline this week, but not a drastic one. Number 9, Miles Sanders. We talked about him a little bit. I will move him up if Jordan Howard's declared out. And then number 10, Alvin Kamara. He's struggled a bit lately, but he has the talent to reemerge, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he had like a 30-point DraftKings game. So, he struggled a bit lately, but he has the talent to bounce back. So, what do you think about the top 10 outside of Freeman? We discussed them already.
Well, Carson, you said a lot of good things about Ward, but I remember seeing Miles Sanders sitting in the end zone, and Carson still threw him the ball. So I think Miles Sanders needs to be higher. I think Mostert needs to be higher, and Saquon and Elliott. But okay, I would drop Devontae Freedom. Other than that, I like what you got.
Okay, that's fair enough. Maybe I have Freeman a little bit too high, but I just love the matchup.
He scares me to death. I know the matchup is great, but it's just his average per rush is pathetic. He's got to rely on his pass catching. I just don't know. Julio had a great week last week, and let's see, how are the Jags against tight ends?
Well, I mean, their linebackers can't cover it all. Like we just saw Darren.
Could get the passes too.
Yeah. Darren Waller just had a big game for Oakland against Jacksonville's linebacking core. So yeah, that's definitely. I agree with you. I think Austin Hooper could have a nice game. So let's move on to the receivers. We have Michael Thomas again, the factor number 1 receiver. He's like McCaffrey. He's going to be at the top of the list every week. Number 2, Julio Jones. So with Calvin Ridley out, Julio Jones is going to have a bigger share of the workload. We saw that last week against the 49ers. It was a rough matchup. I know that the Niners were missing a couple of cornerbacks, but it was still a rough matchup. And yet Julio Jones was just exploded. So you can't doubt this guy. He's amazing. Number 3, DeAndre Hopkins. Talked about him a little bit earlier. Tampa secondary has played better lately, but I still don't trust him. Number 4, Tyreek Hill. I think you could say that Tyreek Hill has the most upside of any player on the slate. Hill could explode for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, he's so good. He makes for a great DraftKings play every week in tournaments because you want guys with high upside. So I'm always going to be down to play Tyreek Hill. Even in a tough matchup like this, I think that he could have a great game. Number 5, Devontae Adams. Talked about him earlier. I don't think the Vikings can stop him at all. So Adams is going to have a great game. Number 6, Tyler Lockett against Arizona. Arizona's defense is terrible, and I don't know if Patrick Peterson's going to follow Lockett into the slot. I think there's a better chance that Peterson's going to be out on the outside against DK Metcalf. So that should open up things for Lockett. Lockett struggled for like 4 weeks in a row, but he was injured, and now he's healthy again. So I think he's going to rebound. Number 7, Keenan Allen against the Raiders. We know how bad Oakland's secondary is, so Allen is a nice option for sure. Number 8, Amari Cooper against Philadelphia's dreadful secondary. I have a feeling that the Eagles secondary is going to play better this week. Just a feeling because it's a big game. I think they're going to be more focused, but still, you have to love Cooper against the Eagles in this great matchup. Number 9, my 4th cousin Julian Edelman. I talked about how I would play him. This is PPR. This is a PPR ranking, so in standard you're going to be lower on Edelman, but I just trust him to bounce back. Last week was an easy matchup. I wasn't even that high on Edelman last week because I didn't think they would need him very much. But Edelman this week in a sort of a must-win against the Bills, because if the Patriots lose, suddenly the Chiefs will be in play for the bye. So I think the Patriots are going to bring their A game. They're going to have some stuff prepared for the Bills, and that will involve Edelman. So I would not be afraid to play him. And then number 10, Cortland Sutton. So this is kind of the battery for Drew Lock. So if you play Drew Lock in DraftKings, you'll want to pair him with Cortland Sutton, and Sutton has a fantastic matchup against Detroit's defense, which we mentioned before. The Lions are missing 10 starters, so Sutton should play very well. Michael, what are your thoughts on the top 10?
I'm very surprised here. First of all, the Packers have to win ipso facto. Devontae Adams will be the leading receiver this week. Keenan Allen, last time against the Raiders, he had 8 catches, but only got 68 yards. I don't see that this one's going to be any better. Though I hope it is, because I got to start the guy. Julian Edelman, I'm scared to death. But the 3 guys that I'm confident can help lead players to a fantasy championship. I barely see one's name there, Terry McLaurin. He's finally on the same page with his college quarterback when his coach Urban Meyer's in the press box. They had a great game. The Giants just got rid of Jack Rabbit. I don't know how the Giants are going to cover Scary Terry. So I love Scary Terry. I love A.J. Brown for the and the other guy that you don't have there is a guy you've been pimping every week. Rizzy. See his name.
Right. Who's name? Oh, Anthony Miller. So my thing.
Chiefs aren't going to be able to cover him. He had 15 targets last week. 15 targets.
Right. So with 2 things with Anthony Miller this week. One, Mitchell Trubisky has shown more of a willingness to run the ball. So that scared me a little bit. And I don't know what happened to him last week. So 2 weeks ago against the Cowboys rather, he was scrambling a lot. And you saw, if you looked at Miller's target numbers, leading up to that game, it was like 9, 11, 13, 12. Like, it was crazy. Yeah. Against the Cowboys, when Trubisky ran a lot, I think he only had 5 targets in that game. So that just goes to show when a quarterback runs the ball, he's not going to throw the ball to the receiver as often. But last week, I was very surprised that
So
Trubisky.
Trubisky wasn't running last week?
No, he only had 4 scrambles against the Packers, which
Really?
I was very shocked. I thought the Bears could win that game if Trubisky happened to be more
The
assertive.
last play is sticking in my head.
Right, Jesper Horsted, who went to Harvard, wasn't smart enough to lateral the ball. Very disappointing.
Yeah, oh, God, that was just, yeah. It looked like Robinson was going to score if he just tosses it to him.
That's all he needed to do was just toss the ball to the faster player. You would think a Harvard guy would do that, but apparently not. So that didn't happen. But anyway, with Trubisky, he only scrambled 4 times, and I thought that going into the game, I thought if he happened to be more decisive with that, if he happened to be more assertive with his legs, I think the Bears could have won that game. But they needed to come back. He only scrambled the ball 4 times. Scrambled 4 times in that game. I think that he might go back to that this week because it's kind of like do or die for him, really. Like, he's playing for a job next year. The Bears are not going to be in position to draft the quarterback. So I think they're probably going to have Trubisky around next year. I assume that they're going to add a veteran to compete with him. But Trubisky right now is playing for his job, and I think he's going to scramble more. If he scrambles more, that means Miller won't get the number of targets he needs to be successful. So that is one concern I have with Miller. The second concern is that the Chiefs' pass defense is excellent. So they've shut down receivers. People haven't noticed because they assume the Chiefs' defense is bad. But over the past several weeks, they've just shut down receivers very easily. So those are the 2 things. Those are the 2 concerns I have with Miller.
I'd also like to say, if you were lucky enough to pick up Rashard Perryman in your fantasy leagues, you are going to win a fantasy championship.
Yeah, I like Perriman. I don't love him this week. I like him. I think he might suffer some regression. Like, yeah, I think people will chase the points. I'd be reticent to play him naked in DraftKings, without Winston. But I would definitely pair him with Winston. But I don't think I'd play him otherwise. Because if Winston's not having a good game, Perriman's definitely not having a good game. So that's my thinking there. All right, let's go to the top tight ends. So Zach Ertz.
Let me mention something real quick.
Sure,
You were talking about Trubisky. I was looking at the Bears rushing last week, and that's what got me confused because Trubisky did get 29 yards on 4 carries, and it practically read his team in rushing because Montgomery had 14 carries for 39 yards. What a disappointment that was. And Tariq Cohen 8 for 28. So, wow. Yeah, it's like they abandoned the run except with Montgomery, and he just didn't get anything. What's up with Montgomery?
The Bears offensive line is not very good this year. They've suffered some regression from their tackles. Charles Leno played very well last year for the Bears. It was excellent. This year, I don't know if he's dealing with some sort of injury or he's I know he's 30. I believe he's 31 or maybe 32. So maybe he's getting older and he's not playing as well because he's getting older. So Charles Leno's not playing as well. The right tackle, Bobby Massey, same problem. He's regressed and he's about the same age as Leno. So those 2 guys have gotten older and maybe they're banged up. And then they've been missing their right guard, Kyle Long, who's their best offensive lineman. So they have 3. Yeah, they have 3 worse spots on the offensive line that they had last year. So the run block is not as good. And Montgomery hasn't.
Great explanation. So Montgomery's a sleeper for next year then.
Well, here's the thing. Like, Montgomery hasn't even looked that good when he's played. So, like, Montgomery should play better next year if Kyle Long is healthier and Leno and Massey rebound. But he just hasn't looked special. Like, next year in 12 team leagues, I think I would draft Montgomery in like the 5th round, maybe end of 4th round, 5th round, something like that. I wouldn't go crazy, but I don't think he's going to be terrible either.
He looked great in preseason, breaking tackles, looked untackleable.
He has. I don't know I mean, he hasn't looked very good. I mean, maybe it's because he was playing against backups that he was able to break tackles very easily. So
interesting. Thank you for letting me think about that.
Yeah, sure. So if we can go to tight ends, Zach Ertz is number 1. With the Eagles receivers injuries, Zach Ertz is basically a receiver for the Eagles. So number 2, George Kittle against the Rams. Kittle is a monster. I think in normal circumstances, he would be number 1, but considering the Eagles injuries, he's number 2. Travis Kelce against the Bears. They're still missing Danny Trevathan. They still have good linebacker play, but they should be able to. They should allow some big gains to Kelce. He's just fantastic. Number 4, Austin Hooper. You mentioned him earlier against Jacksonville's defense. Hooper is a great play this week, as is Hunter Henry. Oakland.
What happened to Hunter Henry lately? He's just died.
I don't know, but he has the talent to bounce back.
Not a good time to check out, man.
No, definitely not. But he should play well against the Raiders. I think he had a good game against the Raiders the first time. The Raiders can't cover; they have bad linebackers. So he's number 5. Jared Cook, number 6. Tennessee's not very good against tight ends. Not terrible, but not very good either. So number 7, Dallas Goedert, another Eagles tight end, and the Eagles have to throw to their tight ends because they don't have healthy receivers. Number 8, Darren Waller against the Chargers. The Chargers don't cover tight ends very well, so Waller, he should play well. Number 9, Tyler Higbee. This hinges on Gerald Everett playing. If Everett's out again, Higbee is going to be another top 10 tight end.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really amazing. He's won people a lot of money.
Put up George Kittle numbers every week ever since Everett's been out.
I believe he's been in the last $3 million lineups on DraftKings.
Unreal.
Over the past 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, money, babe.
Yep. And number 10, Jacob Hollister, Arizona.
He should be higher. He's playing the Cardinals, for God's sake.
Yep. He should be. Yeah, he probably should be higher. So maybe I'll move him up a little bit. So those are my top 10 tight ends, and then OJ Howard kind of lingering at number 11.
Is Greg Olsen still breathing?
Greg Olsen cleared concussion protocol, so he'll be back.
I don't trust Howard or Olsen. Love Mark Andrews. I don't know why you got him behind those 2 deadbeats. I love Hollister. I love Andrews. And by the way, not just that my phone just croaked. Hunter Henry against the Raiders last time. 4 catches for 30 yards.
Okay.
But he got a touchdown.
Oh, you got a touchdown.
Yeah. Right. So touchdown dependent. That's pretty scary. I really rely heavily on Hunter Henry, and I've been disappointed in him the last few weeks. I love Hollister. I don't see how that can miss. Tyler Higbee's been insane, and Mark Andrews. It's just like that's what the Ravens do. Oh, Noah Fant too.
Noah Fant should play well as well. I like Olsen this week because of the matchup. The Colts play a zone, which allows for a lot of targets for tight ends.
The Colts look like they checked out on Monday night.
Yeah, the Colts are done. And then you have OJ Howard. With all the injuries at receiver, like Howard has to have a good game. Like I'd be surprised if Howard doesn't play well. So he catches more at baseball games. That's true. Actually, Howard has actually been pretty decent the past 2 weeks. I guess he got out of the doghouse that he was in against the Saints. That I still can't believe that Saints play where he tried to catch the ball behind his back. And,
that was like the ridiculous play of the year.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. But
Harlem Globetrotter, you called it. That was a great description.
Right. But he seems to be in Bruce Arians' good graces now, so I'm not going to be afraid to play Howard or Cameron Brate for that matter. So those are the top 10 tight ends. So anything else overall that we need to discuss before we go, Michael?
Just we have millions and millions of fans out there in IBMtv land that are relying on us to get them to a fantasy championship. So I take this as a sacred trust with our recommendations this week, Walter. And I think you did a pretty good job.
Thank you.
Well, let's don't put too much pressure on Walter. We all have to do our homework.
Well, we have to rely on him for his cousin, because we know where Walter lives. Julian Edelman, we know where your cousin lives. You have to
Maybe we ought to take his cousin out to Golden Corral and treat him nice. I was told Peyton takes his team out to a great steak dinner every once in a while too, and give them that team spirit incentive when he was quarterback. So, but you know what? This is, I think this is a good lineup, a good pick. I'm learning a lot. And thank goodness I'm not betting big on these, but I'm still behind Pickle. I haven't quite figured out how to get ahead of Pickle. But,
and we got big slates on DraftKings this week. So if you want to get Walter's input on that, you can either go to Facebook or to WalterFootball.com.
Oh, I know. I've been watching Walter. Well, he knows. I'm not stalking you, Walter. I'm not.
Walter's the best.
I've been watching you from the sidelines whenever I get a chance. It's been a very busy 2 weeks. picks. But I think this is some um, great advice. I think I'm ready to make some picks for this week.
Yeah, let's when you win the $200,000 this week, you can buy us a couple of beers in Miami.
Hey, now beers, we're all going out for a steak while we're in Miami. So,
very nice.
Hey, Walter,
and visit some pretty interesting people. I've become family down there to a lot of people.
Oh, good.
So, but anyway, I want to share something with you just real quick. One of my favorite, you guys have given me some great memories for football this year. I'm really getting into it. But I will say this, one of my best memories in football was with my dad in 1971. And Dallas Cowboys, they always play Thanksgiving. And apparently he won. Now, betting back then was different. It wasn't fantasy football, and I'm sure he would have really gotten into this. But it would have been hard for him because he was a Cowboy fan. But he won that day. And sometimes it's when you win, how do you spend your money, right? So he was thrilled, like we were talking. He was thrilled, man. He picked me up. Instead of taking me to 7-Eleven, he went to the general store where he places his bets. And it was an old country store. It's an old country store, right? So he goes in to collect on his bets, and there's a horse and a pony out there, and they put me on the pony and are walking me around. And now we lived in a little red house, in a neighborhood with a fence, right? No farm by any means. And so my dad comes out feeling really good. Now you have to remember back in the day too, they probably drank a little on Thanksgiving Day while they're watching their favorite team win. And the Cowboys won, and he was happy. And so I'm sitting out there, and I'm thrilled, and he's thrilled. He's got his pockets full of money, and I'm looking at him. Oh, please, Daddy, please, I love this pony. Guess who came home with me?
Wow.
He bought the pony.
Wow. That's awesome.
With his winnings. But we do crazy things when we win, right? Probably not the best investment. My mom didn't talk to him for a month.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But here, my mom turned it into something good. She built a garden that year because we had plenty of fertilizer. But we had a pony that nobody else had in the neighborhood. So,
wow.
Sometimes, but it was a great memory for me for football, right? I wasn't the big football queen in the family like the rest of the family, but and of course, one of my brothers tried out for the Dallas Cowboys and got picked in 1981, I think it was 1983.
Oh wow!
So yeah, so it's I wish he were here to see this. I wish he would have been here to see me hold the trophy, but it's been great memories.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
So how will you spend your money this holiday if you win the $200,000?
Probably enter in more contests with the money.
No ponies there. How about you, Michael?
I've been trying to coordinate a important business trip to Japan with a friend of mine from Serbia, John Bosnich, and that needs to happen soon for some of our other enterprises in IBMtv and
Yes, you're right.
chessstars.com. We have a big contest Saturday at 3 p.m. If you log into chessstars.com, you can win money, no entry fee, by predicting the moves of Grandmaster Bednarski and International Master Leva. So that's a big thing. We're going to have a live Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And Walter has a fantastic column every week, Jerks of the Week. And Walter, can you do me a favor? I have got to hear the audio version of the Philly cheesesteak guy laugh. I got it. What did that laugh sound like? I mean, you did it 100 times in the article, so I know you can do it once on the air because you're driving your wife crazy with it, right? And
my God!
You're still hearing it, right? You're hearing it in your head.
Oh my God! I had to kind of like. No, he was like, yeah, like it was so bad. It was so bad.
Where did that come from? Oh my God!
It was. Oh my God! It was. If he did it once, it would have been enough. But he, after every sentence, he would just this guy, if you didn't read that article, we were at a cheesesteak place, and he was making like racist jokes, but not only that, but like he didn't understand what blue cheese was, and he was laughing at my wife because he was like, blue cheese isn't blue, like crazy. And this guy just kept laughing like that, and like this laugh has been in my head like the entire time. So
Yeah, Walter's wife sat at the other end of the restaurant so they wouldn't hear the guys laugh. And Walter kept hearing it and saying, you know, there it is again. She says, I don't hear anything. Are you all right?
Honestly, I'm like, wait, no, he's laughing again. She's like, "Whoa, are you okay?"
Yeah, Walter is an incredibly informative writer and very funny. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I do enjoy. And by the way, folks, Christmas is coming up. If you need a good gift at the last minute, check it out. I love this book. Every time I read it, sometimes I have to like stop because I laugh.
Oh,
there are just so many funny things in here. It builds up my spirit inside me because you are very funny, Walter.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
and I appreciate.
Hey, are we meeting on Christmas Day?
Oh, I hope so. Are we?
Yeah, I should be able to.
You know, I was told Peyton takes his team out to a great steak dinner every once in a while to, and you know, give them that team spirit incentive when he was quarterback. So, you know, but you know what? This is, I think this is a good lineup, a good pick. I'm learning a lot, and thank goodness I'm not betting big on these, but I'm still behind Pickle. I haven't quite figured out how to get ahead of Pickle. But,
and we got big slates on DraftKings this week, so if you want to get Walter's input on that, you can either go to Facebook or to WalterFootball.com.
Oh, I know. I've been watching Walter. He knows. I'm not stalking you, Walter. I'm not.
Walter's the best.
I've been watching you from the sidelines whenever I get a chance. It's been a very busy 2 weeks, but I think this is some great advice. I think I'm ready to make some picks for this.
Yeah, let's you know, when you win the $200,000 this week, you know, you can buy us a couple of beers in Miami.
Hey, now beers, we're all going out for a steak while we're in Miami. So,
very nice.
Hey, Walter,
and visit some pretty interesting people. I've become family down there to a lot of people.
Oh, good.
So, but anyway, I want to share something with you just real quick. One of my favorite, you guys have given me some great memories for football this year. I'm really getting into it. But I will say this, one of my best memories in football was with my dad in 1971. And Dallas Cowboys, they always play Thanksgiving. And apparently he won. Now, betting back then was different. It wasn't fantasy football, and I'm sure he would have really gotten into this. But it would have been hard for him because he was a Cowboy fan. But he won that day. And sometimes it's when you win, how do you spend your money, right? So he was thrilled, like we were talking. He was thrilled, man. He picked me up. Instead of taking me to 7-Eleven, he went to the general store where he places his bets. And it was an old country store. It's an old country store, right? So he goes in to collect on his bets, and there's a horse and a pony out there, and they put me on the pony and are walking me around. And now we lived in a little red house, you know, in a neighborhood with a fence, right? No farm by any means. And so my dad comes out feeling really good. Now you have to remember back in the day too, they probably drank a little on Thanksgiving Day while they're watching their favorite team win. And the Cowboys won, and he was happy. And so I'm sitting out there, and I'm thrilled, and he's thrilled. He's got his pockets full of money, and I'm looking at him. Oh, please, Daddy, please, I love this pony. Guess who came home with me?
Wow.
He bought the pony.
Wow. That's awesome.
With his winnings. But, you know, we do crazy things when we win, right? Probably not the best investment. My mom didn't talk to him for a month.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But here, you know, my mom turned it into something good. She built a garden that year because we had plenty of fertilizer. But we had a pony that nobody else had in the neighborhood. So,
wow.
You know, sometimes, but it was a great memory for me for football, right? I wasn't the big football fan in the family like the rest of the family, but and of course, one of my brothers tried out for the Dallas Cowboys and got picked in 1981, I think it was 1988.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so it's, I mean, you know, I wish he were here to see this. I wish he would have been here to see me hold the trophy. But you know, it's been great memories.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
So
That's
how
really,
will you
that's
spend your money this holiday if you win the 200,000?
nice. No. Probably enter in more contests with the money.
No ponies there. How about you, Michael?
I've been trying to coordinate a important business trip to Japan with a friend of mine from Serbia, John Bosnich, and that needs to happen soon for some of our other enterprises in IBMtv and
Yes, you're right.
chessstars.com. We have a big contest Saturday at 3 p.m. If you log into chessstars.com, you can win money, no entry fee, by predicting the moves of Grandmaster Bednarski and International Master Leva. So that's a big thing. We're going to have a live Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And Walter has a fantastic column every week, Jerks of the Week. And Walter, can you do me a favor? I have got to hear the audio version of the Philly cheesesteak guy
Oh,
laugh.
God.
I got it. What did that laugh sound like? I mean, you did it 100 times in the article, so I know you can do it once on the air because you're driving your wife crazy with it, right? And
Oh my God.
You're still hearing it, right? You're hearing it in your head. It's whatever.
Oh my God. I had to kind of like, you know, he was like, yeah, like it was so bad. It was so bad.
Where did that come from? Oh my God.
It was, oh my God. It was, if he did it once, it would have been enough. But he, after every sentence, he would just, this guy, if you didn't read that article, we were at a cheesesteak place and he was making like racist jokes, but not only that, but like, he didn't understand what blue cheese was, and he was laughing at my wife because he was like, blue cheese isn't blue, like crazy. And this guy just kept laughing like that, and like this laugh has been in my head like the entire time. So
Yeah, Walter's wife sat at the other end of the restaurant so they wouldn't hear the guy's laugh. And Walter kept hearing it and saying, you know, there it is again. She says, I don't hear anything. Are you all right?
honestly, I'm like, wait, no, he's laughing again. She's like, Walt, are you okay?
Yeah, Walter is an incredibly informative writer and very funny. So
Thank you. Thank
Yeah, I do enjoy, and by the way, folks, Christmas is coming up. If you need a good gift at the last minute, check it out. I love this book. Every time I read it, sometimes I have to like stop because I laugh.
Oh,
There
wow.
are just so many funny things in here. It builds up my spirit inside me because you are very funny, Walter.
Thank you.
And
Thanks.
and I appreciate.
Hey, are we meeting on Christmas Day?
Oh, I hope so. Are we?
Yeah, I should be able to.
I mean,
Okay, all right, cool.
usually by 3:30 in the afternoon, Christmas is kind of wrapped up.
Yeah, Walter, well, I can do it anytime you want. You know, if we want to get it out of the way.
Yeah, no, yeah, I go to my parents in the morning, and yeah, I should be back by 3 or 4. So yeah, I should be normal time. Sounds good to me.
Well, just text, and I'll see.
Otherwise, I was going to say everyone a Merry Christmas. But Kim, you've done so much for us this year. When we first started, we didn't have a clue what we were doing. And you just have stepped in and done a fantastic job. And I just really want to commend you on that.
Thanks, guys. I guess I've learned so much through you as well. And thanks for your patience. And don't be doing that. Walter's gonna kick you off the show. Is joking.
It's back in my head. I won't be able to sleep tonight because of that.
Walter, we'll have to find you something else. But I hope you sign the book for me when we see each other in Miami.
Yeah, it's a month and a half from now. Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Can't
Bring
wait
a
to see you
few
guys.
there with you. Bring a few books with you. And folks, so, this is great, and we will be on next week.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be our week 17 show, so most of you will be done your leagues. I know some of you have week 17 leagues, just from people emailing me, and some people even have a 2-week championship, which I think is kind of cool. But
ESPN, yeah.
yeah, but there's always going to be DFS. So people
Yep.
playing on DraftKings, and also on my site, we have a free DFS contest. So yeah, we'll have a contest for that. So there's going to be plenty to break down next week. But yeah, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone. Say that early. So yeah, Merry Christmas to you guys as well. And you know, otherwise, you can go to WalterFootball.com. Updated picks, fantasy rankings, mock draft updated today. And yeah, let us know who you like in fantasy this week. If you disagree with my rankings, let us know why. And let us know who you're playing on DraftKings, either Saturday or Sunday slate. So that'll be interesting to see. So I will talk to you guys next week.
All right.
All
Love
right,
you guys.
take
Thank
care,
you all.
everyone. Happy holidays.
All right, bye guys.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
All right. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank
Great job.